Welcome to Homeschool Today. I'm Andrea Johns, and today we're going to be talking about deschooling.
Life is crazy, it's so wild. Won't you stay with me for a while? Let me show you your superpower. Let's get to it, you know you're a homeschool teacher. Alright.
This will be a two-part discussion. In the first episode, we'll talk about what is deschooling and what you might experience when pulling your children out of school to begin home educating. In part two, we will talk about the process of starting to homeschool, focusing on tips for navigating the deschooling period. Simply put, deschooling is the process of adjusting to your non-school life after leaving the public or private education system. It is a period of time in which the transition of school thoughts and processes are left behind and replaced by non-school ideas. This adjustment happens when students graduate from high school or college and when your children leave a traditional brick-and-mortar school to begin homeschooling. Even though the changes may all be positive, it can take your children some time to adjust. Be patient with the process. Don't expect everything to be picture perfect from day one. Give yourself the time and space to enjoy the transition and not be stressed. The longer your children have attended school, the more likely you both will have to make shifts in your mindsets as you begin the homeschooling journey. Let's begin by setting the stage. From very early on in life, children exhibit curiosity about everything in their world. They are fascinated with the way things work and try again until they master tasks and learn to begin to think for themselves. As people, we are natural learners. It's simply part of our DNA. Where there's certainly a place for formal instruction, there is more to be gained by students actively participating in the learning process. What I mean by this is that telling your student about the life cycle of a caterpillar and how it becomes a butterfly can teach them the process for the short term, and some students may even retain it forever. But start a butterfly garden and have your children watch the magic as metamorphosis occurs right in front of their eyes, and they'll learn with awe. After a couple weeks of eating leaves galore, the caterpillar will create a chrysalis. My kids said it looked like a sleeping bag, and after sleeping for a few weeks, a beautiful butterfly emerges and the students are thrilled. All of my children still remember hatching butterflies at about the first grade level. This type of learning sticks. When students are in early elementary, this type of learning is most effective. As we age, our minds change, and intentional learning takes the stage. But even with this change, we are still programmed to be natural learners through experiences. Have you ever heard someone say, "I'm a hands-on learner"? Well, in truth, we all are. Traditional school by nature cannot foster this awe, wonder, and relaxed style of learning. By design, the day is heavily scheduled and planned, so every minute has been accounted for. Homeschooling just doesn't function in that same way. If you're pulling your children out of school, it's likely because you were having issues of some type. Even though you were removing them from a negative environment, that 5-day-a-week environment is all they've known for some time. When children come home to educate, it's not unusual for the transition to be challenging. They're used to having the entire day planned and scheduled by their teachers. So in a more relaxed environment, they may not know what to do with themselves. This is normal. You may encounter objections to curriculum, even if they helped you choose it. This is normal. You may hear all types of arguments about not wanting to do something because it reminds them of school. This is normal. Yet, in the same breath, they might object to a new way of learning and approaching school by saying, "This just isn't how we did it in school." This too is normal. If you plan to join a support group, your child may have fears and concerns about fitting in, or even refuse to go because he or she doesn't want to hang out with those kinds of kids. This is part of the process. The student may have meltdowns because they miss their old friends and even class or school activities, and this is normal as well. Further, your children may appear that they're not even trying to give homeschooling a fair shot. It's not abnormal. I think you get the idea. Objections, fights, arguments, and downright refusal to participate in activities can happen. As long as you're prepared for this scenario, you can work through it. This is why deschooling needs to be part of your homeschool journey when you have children who've previously been in a school environment. There's no magic number, but I've heard it suggested that it can take a month for a first grader to adjust, and 6 to 8 weeks for a second grader, and 2 solid months for a third grader, and so on. Again, I don't know if these numbers will hold true for your homeschool deschooling period, But what I do know is the longer your child was in a traditional school, the longer it will take him or her to get used to not being in that school and be used to being homeschooled. Please relax and know that this is part of the process and it's normal. In time, deschooling will exhaust its time, and homeschooling without the baggage of prior school experiences hindering the process will begin. In the second part of this series, I will address some ways to approach deschooling with your students and make the transition a bit smoother and help you preserve your sanity in the process. Please take a moment and hit the like button below. It's what keeps us going. And hit subscribe so you'll be among the first to know as new videos are released. As always, thank you for joining us. And until next time, happy homeschooling.
Life is crazy.